founder of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, MD.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health, heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and where we do encourage you to call in to join in. Today we get a revisit from a friend of ours. I've been here to Pittsburgh on many occasions, met him on one of those occasions. Of course, he represents a company well known to all of those of you who do take supplements. This is in the omega-3 fish oil category. The company, Nordic Naturals. One of those finer companies out there, and we'll be talking today about the omega-3 issues. It appears that this is a hot topic. New information is now forthcoming from no less an organization, the American Heart Association. And with that in mind, our guest today, Mr. Stuart Tomc, will be discussing those recommendations and what to do about them with respect to doing what's recommended in the most healthy way possible. Stuart Tomc, our guest today. Now, that'll be right after the first break. Let's see. Got to really thank Cass Ingram from really coming out of schedule. We had nabbed him literally on his show that he did with us back on the 11th of the month. He spent some time with us on Monday talking about the medical x-ray issue. I think there was a good interchange there. I gave him some information that he hadn't had previously. He certainly gave us a wealth of information that we hadn't had. In fact, he holds out and dangles a carrot out there instead of a stick and says some things that actually were really soothing to the ears. One, of course, was, and the most important, was that actually you can repair some of this DNA that is destroyed or altered or somehow disconfigured in any way by the penetration of ionizing energy. X-rays can be helped along, and this was it's the first time I've really ever heard of it. He's talking about the use of SOD, superoxide dismutase. This is a naturally occurring antioxidant component of the body, and how you could increase that amount turns out to be the key. He suggests that combination of the oregano/chagra, because 5,000 times more, I think he said 3,000 to 5,000 times more the amount of SOD production coming from their use. Anyway, we'll be talking more about the X-ray issue. It's every so often that topic comes along. Having Cass mention it the other day, coming to our show to discuss it, just conjured up all the images of Dr. John Goffman once again. So one of the days next week, I'll take the time to go over it. Maybe we'll do that on Monday, talking about how you should be looking at these X-ray procedures and how to avoid, and if you can't avoid, how to suggest, I guess the good word, suggest to your doctors maybe there's another way of handling this issue. We'll be turning the page on the month of May here, coming up this week. Of course, on Monday, be celebrating Memorial Day. We will not be doing a live show. If you have an idea in mind for a show you'd like to have repeated, why don't you let us know that, by the way, by giving us a call during any of our other shows that we're doing the remainder of the week, today included, also on Friday, where we're going to open them up to you anyway on Friday. If you've got a show that you'd like to listen to on Monday, on Memorial Day, that you've missed, then give us some suggestions. We'll be happy to put that one out there for you. When we return from the vacay, the 1st of June, we're going to be graced with the presence once again of the new Dr. Vavavavoom. I'm talking about Dr. Susan Smith-Jones. Now, it seems like every month we bring Dr. Jones back to us, having another interesting topic to discuss. At this point, she had not emailed me. I don't know what she'd like to pull out of the hat, so to speak, but whatever we've pulled out of the hat in the past has turned out to be illuminated very well by this young lady. Dr. Susan Smith-Jones will be back on the show then on Monday the 1st. In the month of June, rather sparse right now. I see there's a Dr. Ed show. By the way, I checked out the website for the radio shows done by Dr. Ed Condrot. If you do have eye issues, we're getting calls here in the office by people who felt bad that they missed the last treatment seminar. They're interested in becoming involved with the next treatment seminar. If you think you'd like to get some more information, literally general information, in a non-threatening way, I suggest that you listen to the archive of shows that is in the archive for Dr. Ed Condrot out of his Phoenix radio station. Now, he is on KFNX 1100 radio. It must be a big station. It carries all those big talk show hosts that you and I both know about that are usually on the larger stations anyway. So I think, although I'm not too familiar with the Phoenix area, this is probably their KDKA, if you know what I mean. Anyway, if you go to the website, www.kfnx1100.com, that's kfnx1100.com. The list of the radio lineup on the top banner, there's a little toolbar there that says radio lineup. Click on that. Go to Sunday, 5 o'clock. You'll see the Dr. Ed show there. Click on that, and at that particular juncture, you will be able to dial up all of his previous shows. There are about a year's worth of shows there, maybe a little less. Anyway, my show that I did with Dr. Ed on this past Sunday, on the 22nd, is now up. I suggest that you listen to that. Brought in some interesting concepts that have not been brought up for his eye patient listeners in the past. And then looking at the list, there's quite a few great clinicians that are also available. So I'm going to be doing another Dr. Ed show on the 12th. That's what prompted me to mention it to you. But for those of you, we got a couple calls when we heard from me, when you heard from me that I'm doing the radio show. They go, how do I get that radio show? Well, that's how you do it. You can listen to it live by dialing it up, and it's streamed while we do the show, and it's also archived. Very similar way that we do the show here on KHB. Then, of course, in July, and all these other dates are just completely wide open, so we'll be filling those in as time moves on. We bring back Dr. David Brownstein. Of course, Dr. Brownstein, author of many books. His latest, which I did tell you, he snuck me a copy. The title says it all. One of these days, we'll get to it. You may want a copy of it now. The newest of his books, called The Soy Deception. And to get a hold of his books, the phone number, I'll give it to you now, 1-888-647-5616. That's 888-647-5616. When he returns, which will be on July 8th, he'll be talking about a previous book, and I think it deserves merit because I think we're well within the salt scare epic of time, and the book entitled Salt Your Way to Health sort of gives it away in terms of should you be shunning salt or embracing it. And although there is a percentage of population out there that should not be doing salt at all, this is a very small minority of folks. We'll talk about that when we bring Dr. Brownstein with us. You may want to give us a call to come on in to see us also. Of course, we're here in the South Hills of Pittsburgh, just literally south of South Hills Village Mall, maybe about 3 or 4 miles, on Washington Road, which is Route 19. We do so much here. We're doing an awful lot of work with the cardiovascular realm. You know that because You've followed this radio station and me for many years now, and you do understand that it's one of our highly specialized items. Thyroid issues are abounding us now. We've had so many discussions on our radio show with guests who have brought us some great information now to put it into play to actually get the job accomplished of correcting thyroid disorders. I think we pride ourselves in doing that. I'd say those two areas are very hot issues right now. Give us a call here at 724-942-3002 if you'd like to set up an appointment with us to come on in and get your issues started with correcting. Okay, let's do this. We're going to take a short break. In the interim, we're going to go find our guest for this morning, Mr. Stuart Tomc, the representative from Nordic Naturals. Stuart's going to be here to talking about, here's the title, folks, Surf or Turf, which is healthier. Got a guess? Be back in a moment.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. You become confused about how best to manage your health. It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you were looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, M.D. is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Have you been to the doctor lately? Was fatigue top of your complaint list? Even if your doctor asks you what you need, the recommended 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day isn't free in your busy schedule. What if you learned of a product 5 years in the formulation that delivers 5 servings of fruits and minerals in just 1 ounce? That's right, it's through the Spirit. The blessings of Fruit the Spirit are now formulated into a delicious whole fruit puree product rich in antioxidants and minerals. Your health is more than just a test result. It's a balance of physical, spiritual, and emotional factors. You work regularly to strengthen your faith. Let Fruit the Spirit help cover your nutritional needs in a convenient and cost-effective ounce a day. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. Fruit of the Spirit, 5 servings of fruits and minerals with no added sugars. That's 1-800-442-3793 for your good health. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Heard here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you on this Wednesday version of the show, pre-Memorial Day weekend coming up. And in anticipation, we're getting a little racy around here, if you know what I mean. We've invited back an old friend of ours. I always like the term old friend. And when I know them personally, as I do this gentleman, I have a fondness that I really want to pass on to all of my listeners today. You'll enjoy him. You've met him before, if not in the flesh, because he's been here to Pittsburgh. You certainly heard him on our radio show. He is, with over 20 years of experience in the field of nutritional medicine, Mr. Stuart Tomc is one of North America's leading authorities on dietary supplements. He's a respected former consultant to the World Health Organization and integrative physicians worldwide. Serving in the capacity as educator and media spokesman for the dietary supplement maker, you know them too, Nordic Naturals, Stuart has given thousands of lectures and interviews on both TV and radio discussing the latest available scientific research on natural alternative therapies for bringing about increased levels of health and wellness. That's his bio. That's a shortened way of saying this guy knows what's happening. Let's bring him to us right now. Stuart, welcome aboard. Thanks for coming back, my friend.
Dr. Dennis!
Yeah!
I've missed you. It's great to be back. It sounds fantastic. I'm glad to know that the show is thriving and that your audience is as hungry as ever comes to learning the latest, and hopefully I can help share insights in regards to omega-3 and then fat in general. That big fat debate gets quite time.
Well, this entire issue, every so often, gets a spotlight shown on it. It goes in spurts in terms of the public-generated interest. I'm guessing that this particular time around, and I love the title of the bio here and the idea behind the show. You say, surf or turf, which is healthier? And so that's not a very rhetorical question at all. I think most people would gravitate to one of those immediately. But you're emboldened by information coming out of none other than AHA. Why don't you tell us about AHA? They're a prestigious organization. When they make recommendations, people listen. What's going on with the American heart?
So let's keep in mind that writing public health policy, especially when it comes to diet, may be a job that I know it's a job I would never. And it might be a thankless task because you're going to have people on either side of the debate that will be disappointed. And we have had to be very, very patient with the American Heart Association because they're using a model many of us have come to understand, know, and appreciate that is called evidence-based medicine. Evidence-based medicine was unlike observation and unlike clinical outcomes. You're a practitioner. You might see things, patients or other physicians that you know or clinicians that you know that work with their patients, and you can't deny that they got better. However, in translating that information into a one-size-fits-all public health policy, that's another ball of wax. The American Heart Association has been very, very careful when it comes to making recommendations concerning dietary supplements. They have been very, very careful when it comes to making recommendations concerning omega-3. And the point of what I want to discuss today is they have been very conservative about making recommendations about elevated triglyceride levels or even borderline triglyceride levels. So before I share the news, I was thrilled to see that my first show today was with you. Dr. Dennis, if I can ask you a question, in the years that you've done this, have you thought or have you suspected that elevated triglycerides might actually be a risk factor, maybe an indicator that something bad is in the body?
Oh boy, do we have to check this on every single patient. Of course, it comes in that panel called a lipid panel, and many doctors would order that willy-nilly and not really blink an eye about ordering it. But I got a feeling that when it gets ordered, the discussion swings to the issue of cholesterol and maybe at times LDL, but very little chit-chat comes up with respect to the triglyceride, which is an extremely important component.
And you make an excellent point. The way that you were trained classically and many other clinicians, all of the evidence and weight was clearly put on cholesterol and, of course, blood sugar. And to understand that if things are out of proportion, that something's going on, see that a thyroid results come back and they're not something is going on, but the triglyceride level has been this vague measurement that they've kind of not really connected anything much to other than suggest maybe you should work out more and you should eat more fiber. But that's that famous line that's usually laid out on the keep an eye on it. Right, I like that. Well, we're going to keep an eye on that growing, right? Which is
keep an eye on it, right?
Well, what does that mean? Let me tell everyone what triglycerides are, because they're different than cholesterol. And we'll talk about how the American Heart Association has finally conceded, based on the evidence, that this is a modifiable risk factor. So what's the difference between triglycerides and cholesterol? Triglycerides and cholesterol are separate kinds of fat that circulate in our blood, but the triglycerides provide your body with energy. Cholesterol is cells, hormones. Because triglycerides and cholesterol can't dissolve in blood, circulates throughout our body, helps proteins transport the lipid called lipids. So what are triglycerides? They are a type of fat found in the blood. Anytime our body converts any calories that it doesn't for right away for energy, right, into triglycerides. Triglycerides, stored fat. And what doctors have been telling us recently, so this breaking news, was that it's at borderline high. So if your numbers don't have your blood test handy, jot this down. Next time you get a blood test, find it, look at it. If you had a borderline level of 150 to 199 milligrams per deciliter, the American Heart Association has just released a statement published in Circulation that you may want to take 500 milligrams NPHA, 1,000 milligrams of DHA. That's like, if you use the 1,000, the upper range, that's more than standard fish oil. Not for just secondary prevention. Not after you've survived a heart attack. Not after you have been diagnosed. But if you have borderline high triglycerides that millions of Americans have, doctor, they're recommending now up to 1,000 milligrams a day of DHA prophylactic for prevention rather than just secondary.
Well, now, swinging all their attention to triglycerides is certainly a new move, a bold move. It hopefully will allow weak clinicians to put shine a light on this where it's been swept under the rug. You say that triglycerides are a form of fat. I mean, they really come from the overabundance of carbohydrate in the diet that literally, at the end of the day, whatever's left on the carb pile by the next morning becomes the fat pile. That is your triglyceride. It's a carbohydrate overload. You're right, so right about the calorie. You say the calories that are left over end up converting to triglycerides. How did you mention that? How did you describe it?
I said that when your body converts any calories, doesn't right away into triglycerides. But your point is very important. That's the point you don't want to miss. We're telling people, maybe not you or I, but experts telling us that fat, that if you ate a stick of butter, that would cause your blood fat. And what we found is that, well, that's not true. What Dr. Courtney said is accurate. It's the carbohydrate aisle, because if you ate a stick of butter and a whole bunch of low omega-6 vegetable oil every day, lower your triglycerides. Your fat intake, because triglyceride is just a structure. That's the way fat occurs in nature. Glycerol backbone, three fatty acids, glycerol backbone. It's just the way that fat occurs in nature. Butter is a triglyceride, right? Fish oil is a triglyceride. The fat doesn't convert into fat because it's already fat.
Good point.
It took me years to pile through all the pharmacokinetic papers that were written for big pharma fish oil. They studied clearly the mechanism of action, and I found that in their literature was simple, profound, and the audience digested, no pun intended.
That is a good statement. I'll always remember it because fat doesn't turn into fat. It is already fat.
And it makes it, when I
Love
saw that, and then with what you said, sugar and carbohydrate. So let's make this clear. If you ate a stick of butter, like Grandma said it was okay to do, don't usually have elevation of triglycerides. Now, if you are leading a completely sedentary lifestyle, we're not burning anything at all the calories, obviously, what you don't use for energy, then have this leftover storage of energy. And then to add to that, because we're on your show, there is another factor here, and that would be the free fatty acids that are left over. The free fatty acids that are left over from that still transient excess energy. That excess food energy we all take in every day causes transient insult every meal. That means that if you're taking an aspirin every day to block the omega-6 hormones, because they are it's global, right? Aspirin and non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, tox inhibitors, block the hormones that lead to thrombosis and arrhythmia, and you're taking a statin, which leads to oxidant stress and inflammation and proliferation of impaired nitric oxide. If you're blocking all those pathways, but you're still eating more than you're burning, those liberated free fatty acids then cause that oxidant stress, leading to vessel wall plaque, platelet activation, thrombosis, arrhythmia, which means that if we're eating far more omega-6, this wasn't on the script, but I was on the show today, far more omega-6 than omega-3, every time we eat a meal, that excess energy causes the transient insult, the omega-6 amplifies and the omega-3 diminishes. Two things are important. American Heart Association finally has conceded triglycerides are a risk factor, and I might add a modifiable risk factor. Number two, they're making strong recommendations for borderline, even higher recommendations for high triglycerides. Dr. Courtney, they're saying up to 1,000 milligrams of DHA and DHA per day, 200 to 499 milligrams per deciliter. And I might add to this, every time more than we're burning, meaning unless you're eating your breakfast on a treadmill, burning it as you're eating it, turning it into ATP energy, and are then flooding your body with fatty acids, you've got way more omega-6 and omega-3 in your tissue. You're going to amplify that inflammatory insult. You've been looking at things like triglyceride levels, talking about today, body mass index, been looking at LDL, they all enhance. Been looking at insulin resistance and elevated glucose, they all add, but it's really the omega-6, omega-3 in the tissue that determines how you respond to insults. Thus, the omega-6 story comes full circle.
Boy, you have really cleaned it up for this audience. You've gotten very scientific, but I hope our listeners, and I do believe our listeners, are able to understand you in a way that they can absorb the powerful message here that would be glanced over by talking about surfing and turfing. I think I really appreciate you bringing, this is a scientific matter that finally needs to be opened up. I don't think it's been nearly studied anywhere near where it could have in the past, as you and I both well know and already mentioned. It's glossed over. We'll keep an eye on that. And what the heck would they ever do about, they being the medical community themselves, didn't know what to do with it. So now there are recommendations.
There's strong recommendations, and I keep saying this, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but, I do a lot of shows, and when I saw I was on with you, I knew that I could let it rip. Let's put this in context. There was a paper that slipped through in 2005, which gained very little attention. And I was recently brought to my attention by a mentor to me. And you may have remembered this, but I'd not read it in 2005. The paper was called A Paradox Clinical Efficacy. Archives of Internal Medicine, 2005. And it was a meta-analysis of 97 randomized controlled trials with 137,000.
Yeah, I was going to say big numbers on the meta-analysis, big numbers.
Huge, 137 people in interventions, 138,000. There's 270,000 plus patients. They looked at, doctor, the risk ratios for overall mortality. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is I was at a conference, and one of the leading omega-3 experts and I started chatting it up. He said to me, Stuart, I've seen you now for a while, interested in this, you're passionate for this, you're studying gene transcription, and you're studying the mice, and all these cutting-edge things. And he said, let me give you a bit of professionalism. Why don't you learn and study human data with omega-3 as the endpoint being mortality? Does the intervention risk of death? I don't care about the biomarkers for now. Yes, they may add to death, but does it help you live? Why don't you become a master in those areas? This is good advice. Agree with that, Dr. Courtney?
Absolutely excellent advice. Continue on. That is one heck of a large study you're talking about, my friend.
So that's why I want to share this. So anyway, I watched him speak. I went to one of his talks, and sure enough, this is what he does. famous lipid expert. He just showed all the major studies on mortality, but he didn't have this that I'm going to share with you. This was a study looking at all of the interventions that are used for people that come into the doctor, get a blood test, and their triglycerides out of whack, cholesterol off the charts, and then we're going to address that because you and I know have thoughts about that. The blood sugar is nuts, and then they start giving you drugs. So this looks at the risk ratio for overall mortality. So a score of 1.00 is equivalent to no benefit in risk reduction mortality. Score of 1 doesn't save any lives at all. So the first drug on the list, first intervention, fibrate. Now the fibrate drugs are interesting. They're nuclear receptor activators or gamma activators. They lower your triglycerides, but then you end up maybe getting a heart attack. So it does the job, but it doesn't reduce the risk of death. Fibrates first on the list, they get 1.0. The next one, Dr. Courtney, and every nutritionist and registered dietitian loves this. The next one is diet advice, quote. So when you go to the doctor and your blood levels are nuts, they say eat better. Just eat better. Take better care of yourself. Eat better. Diet advice was 0.97. Essentially the same as no advice at all. Niacin. You buy that at a health store.
Yeah.
0.96. 4% reduction mortality.
Not much help.
A little bit better than no advice.
Mm-hmm.
Statins are then 0.87. 13% reduction in mortality. As you know, maybe because they're also anti-inflammatory. Maybe because they're also antifungal, according to Roby Mitchell. And then resin, right? The bile acid resin blockers, 0.84. So they got a little bit more. They got like a 16% reduction in death. And then drum roll, please, of every intervention known to humankind, the most effective thing they've looked at during these 97 randomized controlled trials, 270,000 patients, omega-3 fatty acids, 0.77, a 20% total reduction in all-cause mortality. Omega-3 fatty acids, natural product that they can get it at a natural doctor's office for the health.
That is phenomenal. That is a phenomenal study.
Isn't that great?
To point that up, you got to send me a copy of that paper. I'd love to see it.
I'll send you my whole PowerPoint because that's my job. At this point, I realize I'm just a medical journalist because I spend full time now. It's been now 5 years of just studying facts, and I just addressed doctors in Jacksonville, Wyoming, and they were board members of A4M, and they've been veterans like you for a long time, and they were very grateful because they're seeing patients, okay? They're seeing their patients all the time. If I can help find this material to bring it to your attention. In fact, the next thing I wanted to discuss was a talk I gave recently in California at Expo West. I had a reporter from CNN in the audience, medical reporter, part of the Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and I showed data, the next data I'm going to share with you, and this really got his, I don't think that he's happy what I shared, but it got his attention. I showed a chart that has 25 years PhD mortality percentage going up, and then cholesterol levels as they go up, and then looking at Japan, Greece, Southern Europe, Serbia, United States, Northern Europe. And as the omega deficiency goes up, as they eat less fish, as there are lower levels of omega-3 and higher levels of omega-6, I'm able to show how when the cholesterol level goes up, so does the mortality risk, but only in the countries that have a high omega-3 deficit. Meaning, food-energy imbalance elevate blood cholesterol may be fatal only to omega-6 to omega-3. So when I show the plot for Japan, as their serum cholesterol levels go from 150, 175, 100, 25, their 25 years of PhD mortality doesn't stop at all, guys.
Because of that omega-6 to omega-3 balance.
show Northern Europe and the U.S., but when you get to 300 plus on the cholesterol, that your CHD mortality risk just double, almost triple. So again, the food-energy imbalance. I recently learned this from my mentor. If I have crazy cholesterol levels, that means I'm taking in more energy than I'm burning. And that may be fatal only to the degree that omega-6 exceeds omega-3 in the tissue.
All right, so this omega-3, we're going to talk about sources here in just a moment, because I know we want to look at food sources versus supplement sources, because there's a problem with the food, Stuart, as you well know, and we're going to bring that to their attention. We do have a caller. You don't mind taking calls, do you?
Oh, no, Stuart, go right ahead.
Hey, we got somebody knocking on the door. Why don't we let him in? Come on in the store. You're with Mr. Stuart Tomc. Go right ahead.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. I wanted to ask him a question about the fish oils, but I did want to mention that I've tried many different brands, and the past 5 years I'm almost exclusively with Nordic. I don't know why. The only thing I can guesstimate is because they're pretty concentrated. It's the only one I've actually felt a difference with as far as some neuropathic pain and inflammation in my body.
Well, tell you what, Stuart, this is a lady, voice well known to all of our listeners. When she speaks, we all listen. You just got a plug. You got a plug of a lifetime here, and you don't even know it, Stuart.
I wish I was in sales. Anyway.
Thank you very much.
I think I may have mentioned it to you, previously, but I always tell people that I do have a lot of inflammation in my body. That's the only one I've ever felt a noticeable difference with. But my question right now is, once in a blue moon, I do pick up a different brand, and it does say that it also contains omega-5 and omega-7. Can you tell me exactly what that is? The only thing I can think of is that it's from a plant source that's mixed in there.
All right, well, I'll be happy to help keep the biochem quiet for, but we have to address some of it. You have to remember that your body, my body, Dr. Courtney, everyone that's listening, makes almost all of the fats. Make cholesterol, make saturated fat. From saturated fat, the body can make omega-9. Olive oil has some health benefits, touted. However, your body takes saturated fat, make it into nucleic acid, omega-9 acid. Your body can also make omega-5 and omega-7. The body can't make any fatty acids that are longer carbs. So omega-3, ALA, from vegetables and flaxseed and chia and hemp, things like the plant-based omega-3 are 18 carbons long and double bond. Your body makes everything up to 8 carbon fatty acids. On the omega-6 side, linoleic acid, it's 18 carbons double bond. Get that from our corn oil and nuts, soybeans. So every fat up 8 and 8 your body makes. So when you see a company on their label saying it contains omega-5, contains omega-7, contains omega-9, number one, all fish oils, I don't care who makes them, contain omega-5, contain omega-7, contain omega-9. Because even in ultimate omega, only 60% of it is DHA and DHA. What's the rest of it? Cod liver oil, 23% of it is EPA and DHA. What's the rest of it? The rest of it is other polyunsaturated, monounsaturated fats, yes, a small amount of saturated fats. So my concern list as an expert in essential fatty acids, when a consumer, and you're very bright, to tell the difference, well, if my body makes it, I may not need additional supplementation. Many consumers 5, 7, and 9 on the label and think maybe I'm deficient in omega-5, 7, and 9. They all have biological functions, don't get me wrong. But your body makes them. And where we are deficient is EPA and DHA, is an overload of omega-6 and arachidonic acid. My vote is that those are unnecessary. because your body can make them, or EPA and DHA, and far lower levels of omega-6 in the background diet. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I kind of knew that. I just didn't know exactly, the breakdown of why, why in this particular one it actually shows, omega-3, omega-6, omega-7, the breakdown versus other fish oils that don't actually, pinpoint. Yeah.
And the thing about marketing is, if we didn't have marketing, then we would have the FDA and other organizations controlling all of what's said and done in dietary supplements. So it's both the good and the bad. If you want to have innovation in the dietary supplement industry, you can't have regulation. If you have regulation, well, then this would be misleading advertising, deceptive advertising. Because they make us think that we're deficient in something because, it has all this, giving the illusion then that they're saying that you need to have it. If you ate a good balanced diet, if you ate sardines every day for breakfast, you didn't eat corn oil, safflower, sunflower, soybean oil, you wouldn't need to take omega-3 supplements at all. And that's the bigger message we need to get out there, not trying to help us take more pills, but how we can get healthy enough to take.
All right, great question.
Can I ask one more?
Always, of course.
What is his opinion, and he may have mentioned this, of krill oil? Thank you.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Again, I'm concerned about the overzealous marketing. And what I would encourage everyone to do with the information I'm about to share is you just go to pubmed.gov. Go to pubmed.gov and type in krill oil. That way you can look at the study I'm about to reference, National Institute of Health database.
What is krill oil? That's a big question. It always comes up. What is it?
Well, it's just another source of EPA and DHA that comes from a little crustacean that happens to have a little bit of an antioxidant. It's just another delivery system for EPA and DHA. And again, Dr. Courtney and caller, they put the big emphasis on the delivery system, not on the mechanism of action. So I'm going to cite this word for word. This is the latest study on krill oil, comparing it to fish oil for the first time in human beings to look at LDL, HDL, triglyceride levels, and inflammatory markers. NF-kappa beta, tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin-1, interleukin-6, all the cytokine activity. Here's what it says. No statistically significant difference. No statistically significant differences in changes of any of the serum lipids or the markers of oxidative stress and inflammation between the groups were observed. Krill and fish oil sauce represent terrible dietary sources of omega-3. If that is the case, the dose used in the study after 1 year of krill oil would cost $500. 1 year of fish oil, the same amount used in the study, $151. So that concerns me because the data shows that krill oil is just another source of EPA and DHA. All of the flaw of it being more effective at reducing the risk of any biomarker or disease or mortality ends up being marketing again, not based on science.
That was a great answer because there is marketing going on out there. Right now, as we speak, the krill oil craze has begun, and it's been touted as the better way. And to cite the paper as you have, and to see the price difference, by the way, which I always knew the krill would be more expensive. I never really saw that breakdown before. I think it really helps our listeners put in perspective the krill oil issue. I thank you so much for bringing it to our attention, Jeff.
I just want to mention one more thing. If and when we can show that a different source of omega-3 can reduce death more effectively than what's in the literature, and it's $10,000 a bottle, it may be worth it.
It may be worth it. I understand the analogy. That's fine. So here's a question for you. Talking about triglycerides, my listeners would want to know, I want to know, looking at triglycerides, what is to be considered a normal triglyceride level? That's going to be the question. Stuart, what do the books tell you?
Well, the guidelines that you know are pretty loose. They say less than 150 milligrams per deciliter, lower than 150. The clinicians that I interact with, Nordic makes the Pro line, meaning we make our same products for doctors. So I get a lot of clinical feedback. Now, the American Heart Association, they've raised it to 150. I have clinicians that are telling me that in their practice, that they like to see triglyceride levels at 75 or lower. So we have to be careful here. If you show up with 150 on your test, clearly exercise more. That has failed as a message, but we all know it. Eat less. Clearly we know that that's an answer, but we don't usually do it. Fiber, we keep telling people to eat more fiber. Maybe that's getting out there. But adding some more fish or fish oil to your diet, even if you're testing at 150, I would add to this, Dr. Courtney, have you been familiar with, or do you provide the omega blood spot test, where your patients determine how much omega-3, omega-6 balance is in their red blood cells?
We do carry that test. That's absolutely correct.
Okay, so if you could, and if I could, encourage everyone to go and get their blood tested, come to you or anybody, whoever else are going to get it done, and find out how much omega-3 is actually in your red blood cells. Then, whether you're taking krill, fish, vegetarian algae, DHA, whatever it is, to stop guessing and start testing. Do you have a great number of people that are willing to take that test, or is that still on the periphery?
Well, tell you what, the test, and I run that test out of Johns Hopkins, it's a pretty sophisticated test, Stuart, unless you have some other screening test.
I do.
Okay, because we certainly want to know the fat content. We're looking for red blood cell fat content to know where the deficiencies lie. And I know the test is being quite sophisticated. Give me your better example of the screening test.
This is from the of Ralph Holman, coined the name omega-3. And Ralph Holman's teacher was Burr, discovered the essentiality of fat. I'm a kind of a romantic. I like that it's third generation from the guy that made the first discovery. And it's called the Holman test. You go to omega-3 test, omega3test.com. And they'll send the patient a little tip that you can then, fingertip test, put it on a little blotter, send it in, and it shows you that famous graph of Greenland with the lowest level of PhD mortality, and America at the top, and the level of death rate and percentage of total omega-3 in the UFA, and then it'll give you a star to show you where you are. Give it as a percentage instead of as a single number. Greater than 50% is a balance. America is 24% on average. You go to omega3test.com, and there's a place for offer code. And for your listeners, in offer code, if they put the word Nordic, N-O-R-D-I-C, Nordic, they can get a one-time, only one-time, $100 blood test for $99.
Well, now, there's an offer. I'm glad I asked about this. It seems, I know the Johns Hopkins test is much more expensive than that, so I'm happy to hear that this screening test is available. I was not familiar with it. I thank you for passing it on to me.
And my score I got back, talk about a little competition in the office, my score came back, I have a 58%. And the technician says, Stuart, perfect score, great job, keep up your dietary strategy. And then I showed it to everyone in the office. Now we got a big competition. My coworker, who also was an educator for Nordic, got a 56. I was thrilled at being a little bit more of a veteran that I beat her out. But if she eats more fish than I do and reduces her level of omega-6, I'm almost Japanese. She's going to try to get to Greenland Inuit, and then I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to race her down the block.
Okay. Very good. Well, look, you brought up an interesting word just a moment ago when you said the fish, because we got a problem out there. If you're going to be trying to get your omega-3 source from fish, this mercury contamination issue is a no joke. This is real. And so could you spend a moment talking about consumption of fish, quantity of fish consumption versus the taking of supplementation where there is an absence of this mercury exposure? I think it's an important point to bring up.
It is, and I would add to it, although the mercury issue can be confusing, if you eat wild-caught fish, you get some selenium that will help chelate organically bound mercury out of your body. However, that still freaks people out because it's not just mercury. They're PCBs and dioxins, fire retardants.
Well, aren't they more found in the farm-raised fish, the PCBs?
Well, we're finding them in wild fish, too. We're finding them in polar bear fuzz and breast milk. It's a sad reality. So I am now a bigger proponent than ever, although I personally fish all the time. I have a far infrared sauna. I'm working out all the time. I'm sweating. I'm taking flushing T vitamins. I mean, there's some nasty toxins out in the environment. What I love about Nordic Naturals is not only was it a nice endorsement from the caller, I believe that the freshness of Nordic Naturals is the main reason why it is so efficacious. But in terms of the removal of impurities and the strict adherence to the Norwegian medicinal standards, the purest and safest fish oil that I have ever found is Nordic Natural. So that when you take, say, 4 capsules of Ultimate Omega a day, that's more than 2,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA. That is a target amount with high triglycerides, primary protection, considering that the background diet is still going to be high in omega-6s, no matter what we do. I am a bigger fan than ever of the highly concentrated fish oils like Ultimate Omega, because they're free of mercury, arsenic, dioxins, and they are fresh, which means you don't belch it up. Stool doesn't smell foul and rotten. That's a bad sign. You take bad fish oil, you're doing collateral damage. You're doing tissue damage to DNA. Your body doesn't like rancid fish. You never eat rotten fish in a restaurant. You only eat fresh fish. Patients have been eating rotten fish oils, and they think it's okay because they're supposed to burp it up, because grandma's cod liver oil tasted fishy. If it tastes fishy, there's a better product out there for you. So I encourage people to bite into the capsule of their fish oil.
There's that test.
Bite into it. The American Oil Chemist Society, I go there, they got all these machines. They're great. Nothing's more sensitive than your palate. You know what it's like? Something smells in this house, right? Like fish, something smells wrong. Trust your nose and your senses. Bite into the capsule, bite into Nordic Naturals, and you'll see why it smells and tastes like fresh fish.
Oh, it's just got a great taste too. That was the thing that sold me on the idea when the salesperson said bite into that, and I was reluctant. But the moment I did, I went, oh no, this tastes. I would have never thought to say the word. It tastes good, but it did. It certainly did. And anyone who puts Nordic Naturals to the test, they'll find this to be a very pleasant sensation, not anywhere near the normal sensation, like a cod liver oil. I used to have to hold my nose as my mother gave me cod liver oil. It was so bad. But
and that smell, was I right? That smell and taste was the deterrent for you to continue to taking it as a young adult.
It absolutely is a factor. We're coming up to the end of the time here. We do have another knock on the door. You don't mind, do you, Stuart?
Right ahead, let's go for it.
Come on in the store. You're with Mr. Stuart Tomc. Go right ahead.
Well, this is a word of praise. We use the product, and Mr. Stuart did not tell me to call. I was listening today, and I thought, I have to call. If anybody's sitting on the fence and saying, yeah, I'm right, I've taken fish oil, my grandkids love it, and they love the strawberry. And they crack that open, honestly. And if I left the bottle out, they'd eat the whole bottle. Really. And my kids have been taking, my grandkids now are around 16 and 13. And they've been taking it. And I have a little granddaughter, great-granddaughter that is 2. She'll be 3. And she just absolutely loves it. And the liquid is, if anybody can't take a capsule or don't want to crack it up, the liquid is just as good. I mean, it doesn't have any fishy flavor or anything. And listening to Mr. Stuart, I already knew about his product. That and didn't he speak at the Freedom of Choice before?
I don't. You've been up until the Freedom of Choice of Cancer Therapy group?
I have.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay. Because that's how I found out about it.
Well,
I thought so. Yeah.
Unsolicited once again.
On the fence. I mean, and it's and it's a good company. And then he's not saying anything that is not true. So for anybody that wants good products, I really do recommend their product.
Ma'am, that was
We've used all of it.
Great phone call.
It's for ourselves, the liquid, and I think they put something else too that we use.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just wanted to put a word of praise. And
Thank you.
You have a thing that for circulation of the blood. You have I have swelling in my legs and varicose vein. Do you have something that you put on to push the blood?
I tell you this, I'd come in and see Dr. Dennis Courtney.
Come on in and see me, ma'am. We need to push that blood around. You absolutely. We got a pusher here, ma'am. That's a good word to use.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, once again, Stuart, unsolicited, these people are making the sales for you, my friend.
Well, it's a pleasure to be the director of education. We're making a high-quality product, acting with integrity and teaching. Then the byproduct, right, we're doing well by doing good. We can do more of what we love.
Well, how do you want to bring it to a close? We've got a couple minutes left here, and we...
I'll close with this, and I think this is very important. My mentor has recently been reminding me that it is unethical and uneconomical to treat only signs and symptoms and leave the causes unchanged. We all know that. But good practice removes preventable causes. Neglected facts, however, create paradoxes. Do not oversimplify connections among facts. When you see an advertisement that says 1 capsule of this is equal to 8 capsules of this, don't oversimplify the connection. Just because there's smoke doesn't always mean there's fire. Not all predictive risk factors cause problems. And know the context for the terms being used. The big fat debate is confusing. We now know. Nix the 6. Nix the 6. Eat the 3. Eat less and work out more. Prevent instead of treat.
Nix the 6. I like that. Very good.
Nix the 6.
All right, folks. There you have it. He has returned. Bongo's in the background saying it's our time out of here. Have an enjoyable day today. I look forward to being with you on Friday. And, of course, we're moving into Memorial Day weekend. All great things coming up. So I want to thank our guest, Mr. Stuart Tomc. I'm going to say goodbye to you and to Mr.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye now, folks. See you on Friday. Have a good day.
AM Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, MD, Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002.